Welcome back, everybody, to class time. It's late August, so we're going to operate even further as if we were in a school, but this time it's my school, so it's free and freewheeling and unstructured, where we can go down paths much faster than a very blocky 40-minute chunk, no control over your instructor type stuff. So the sports angle for today is on the NBA and what's been going on in the wake of the incident in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, it is probably one of the seminal moments in sports in the modern era because we are witnessing a confluence of events that have all happened in the last 30 years or so, one of them being the influence of school and high school sports and sports in general on the American sports star. And what I'm referring to is what I've talked about before, and it has come out in other venues. You used to read about this kind of thing in books. But if you look at, or if you picture in your mind, a superstar high school basketball player. And that young man, talking about boys and then men's basketball, that young man has been a star basketball player once he started picking up a basketball and playing. So probably from the age of 11 or 12, definitely by the age of 13, people, grown-ups, have been telling that person how amazing he is. And everybody does it. Other students, other teachers. Where I work, the basketball coach is a social studies teacher. Where I went to high school, the basketball coach was a phys ed teacher. And so, but the superstar basketball player is looked at not necessarily with reverence, although some people would see it that way, but with honor and respect. And oh, that's so-and-so basketball player. They're great, and they have a future, and they're going to go to college for free. So just picture somebody in today's world with social media and a smartphone who, from the age of 12, right? If you're 25, when you were 12, if you're 25 years old today, when you were 12, right, that was 13 years ago. That was 2007. That's the year the iPhone came out. So if you're 12 and the iPhone came out and you're a super duper star in college, and now we are seeing this manifestation in the pro ranks, you basically don't remember a world without an iPhone, without a smart device. Forget cell phones and internet. I'm talking about a smartphone. And I'll put it to you directly. The super duper stars at the high school level, they get what they want. So if they want an iPhone, they get one. Even I work in the bad neighborhood school. I'm in Mount Vernon, New York, and our high school, we have a good program run by good people. As far as I can tell, they're on the up and up. And but those players, especially the stars, they get stuff. Good for them, right? They work like maniacs trying to get better. But what it does psychologically is what you see now in the NBA, where you see probably some of the worst business decision-making in the history of sports. I'm going to leave it there. It might be some of the worst decision-making in the history of business, but it certainly is some of the worst decision-making in the history of sports, because you have people who are obviously unschooled in business, unschooled in sitting down and thinking first, unschooled with having a sense of mortality or a sense of dignity. There's no humility involved here. And so what these NBA players have done with this incident in Wisconsin, where you have a guy who, Jacob Blake, I think is his name, and he was there was a warrant outstanding for his for sexual assault, and a group of cops tried to subdue him. They were unable to. They tried various ways, and then he reached into his car and got shot in the back. I believe he's paralyzed. I'm sure he's still alive. And it is a messy situation. So you have a convicted, you have a felon, you have a guy out there with a open warrant sex offender. And you have the NBA multimillionaires protesting that he was shot under the auspices that it was a racist act, right? So far, none of this makes sense. And they don't play. They walk off the floor. Not only that, Kenny Smith on TNT walks off the set. All because a sex offender, and I don't know what he was ever convicted of. I know he has a sketchy past with the law. It doesn't really add up to getting shot necessarily, but you know what? I mean, can you just decide that you don't want to be arrested that day? That's what they're saying. He was not interested in being detained by police. Do we all get that choice? If I tell State Trooper who pulled me over 2 months ago that I wasn't interested in what she had to say and I wasn't taking a ticket, could I have just floored the car and driven away? Is that how it works? If she had asked me to get out of the car, could I just say no? I don't get it. I don't see how a rational person comes to these conclusions. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You have adults, young men in the NBA who are unbelievably tall, who've been told that they're special from the time they were in 5th grade. And now, not only did, in the olden days of their lives with AAU basketball and high school basketball and college and now pro basketball, back then they got a nice ego boost. They might have gotten some money on the side. Here's an iPhone. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Mine doesn't work. Here's, I'm giving it to you. See if you can get it to work. But now the rewards aren't, hand-me-down iPhone. It's millions of dollars. And so you have an historic time in sports where the colossally short-sighted decision to stop playing so that, well, I'm not quite sure what. The Bucks are kind of demanding that the Milwaukee legislature prosecute the police officer. But the Milwaukee Bucks don't control law enforcement in Wisconsin. So what? That's what they think. Big deal. I think the New York legislature should pass a bill tomorrow where I get $1,000 a week because I'm the greatest teacher in the world. And I struggle in a place like Mount Vernon where I don't have everything I want. I want more, and I want $1,000 a week. I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? Of course it does. Well, no one told me that the sun only rises and sets over my white ass, so I don't even think to walk out of my job and demand that the New York State legislature bow down to my concerns. But here you have multimillionaire tall people thinking that that's how the world works. And a lot of this is the failure of school. Some of it is American society, but somewhere in the 2 million minutes of high school, one would think that a teacher or an administrator or a guidance counselor somewhere would say, look, shut your mouth. Just because you're good at sports does not make you someone who can make other people bend to their will. And not only that, I mean, this is basic business. Your punishment, the NBA players have decided that they're going to punish, I don't know who they're punishing. They're going to punish somebody because of their racist views, and they're going to do it by removing the product, the only thing that anybody cares about when it comes to these people. We're going to take that away. The thing that gets us paid, we're not going to do it. And that will get people to listen. That's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Now, there's no market for a 5'10", 48-year-old white dude who has little basketball skill left other than the smoothest, most feathery, buttery jumper you've ever seen in your entire life. There aren't any leagues asking for that guy. So I don't have any illusions that my views and my opinions are going to make legislative bodies or American society or people of various races bend to my will by my shaming them or calling them out. I try to teach people as best as I can. And that's what's not happening here. You're having people who are living lives that sultans throughout history would crave to have. And they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're doing some of the worst business decision making ever. I'm going to leave you with this in the last 30 seconds. The media is complicit in a lot of this, but I want to draw your attention again to what Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock are doing in terms of business in sports media. Go through before more videos get put up and they get buried and too far back. Go look at the Outkick YouTube videos. I've been listening to these guys for a while, at least a year now, at least. And they would have stuff on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, Outkick the Coverage, it was called back then. And they'd get between 2,000 and 4,000 views for each YouTube clip. They're usually from 6 to 25 minutes long or so. Well, now they're getting minimum 20, 25,000 views on YouTube. Now, podcast numbers are always much bigger. But the YouTube video count has increased tenfold. Now, there's a reason for that. I've asked burgeoning sports writers, plural, a few young teenage 20s types, oh, Jason Whitlock, Clay Travis, they're doing really good work. And they put on a face, oh my God, because they're kind of seen as Republican or conservative, not politically correct, all this kind of stuff. There's a reason why that business of Outkick is working. And I don't get paid by them. I'm not a member of the staff, but their business model is one to look at. And whether you agree with them is somewhat irrelevant. What they're doing is being different than everybody else. They're doing the Fox News strategy of the 1980s and 1990s. The news outlets of the day were all New York Times, fake liberal or fake conservative Washington or Wall Street Journal. Those were the two fake sides. They were really one side of big corporate, big government, but that was the pretend battle. Well, Fox said, you know what? We're going to cater to your blue blood Republican golf playing person, and we're going to give them what they want. Boom. And it was an explosion in views, right? Fox, for whatever you think of, what do you think of Fox is irrelevant? You are what your record says you are. And Outkick is doing the same thing. Their YouTube viewership, just go on now. I checked today while doing my exercise. Tenfold views. Everything's got 20,000 plus views. Go scroll down the page when you go to videos tab on YouTube and you'll see it wasn't that long ago they're getting 2,000, 1.6 thousand, 5,000 at the most. Clay Travis mentions Joe Rogan's name because Joe Rogan said Joe Biden has some kind of, is not mentally there. And that, I think, got 20,000 plus views. That's an anomaly. Now they're all getting 20,000 views. And why? Because they have a different take. It's interesting. They're not like everybody else. Everybody else is doing the social justice warrior, democratic, liberal, progressive, woke nonsense. And it is nonsense. You're seeing the woke nonsense. It has infected the NBA like cancer. It's affecting MLB. We'll see if it affects pro football, the NFL. I'm not sure if it will. But you're supposed to just bend the knee. And there's one last point that I want to bring up real quick. Remember how I had mentioned the guy in Kenosha, Wisconsin? He had an open warrant arrest for sexual assault. The same people who are angry at this situation are the same ones who retweet and clap and snap when someone 2 years ago put up hashtag believe all women. Well, wait a minute. This guy didn't just say something about women. He didn't just call women bad names. There isn't even some whack, obviously fake allegation like you saw in the Brett Kavanaugh thing from 1983 or 85 or 84, right? Girl couldn't even remember what year it was or where. This guy had an open warrant for sexual assault. And the same people who clap and snap and, stunning and brave comments on social media, hashtag believe all women, they were saying that a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now they're angry at what happened to that person because of other reasons. Maybe you should not follow that plan. The NBA players are following that ridiculous double standard. Where's the believe all women? This guy was wanted for hurting women physically and emotionally scarring them. And people are angry at law enforcement. I thought it was hashtag believe all women. If you follow that corporate cancer, social justice warrior ethos, you're not going to make money. You're not going to have real followers. You're going to get crucified in the business world. It may look good on social media, but those people who are retweeting and clapping for you, they're not going to put money in your pocket. You're a useful idiot for those people. And I'm telling you now, don't do it. Be different.